Okay, hey, welcome to my video blog channel and bad hairdo. It is Wanderlust, the search for Forrest Fenn's gold. So, been having video problems again. It's kind of irritating, but I'm just going to try and cut these videos and make some points I wanted to make because I wanted to keep making videos. Uh, the topic I wanted to talk about, kind of a couple of things, and one of them I wanted to talk about was this. Maybe there's three things, four things. So one of them is the first clue. Forrest Fenn continues to say that the first clue is begin where warm waters halt, and he says, if you don't have that first clue, you don't have anything. And he continues to go back to that. He keeps saying, you need to go back to that clue, and that is the starting place. Begin it where warm waters halt. Let me see if I can do this real quick. All right, hopefully I'm back here and recording. Looks like I am. All right, I was trying to get used to this new software, so it lets me slide back and forth and do some other cool things. Fade in and out, swipe. All right, so here is the poem, and I just wanted to bring it up. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. A lot of people speculate: is that one clue? Is that multiple clues? So I guess that was one of the things that I continue to sort of fixate on is the aspect of the poem, this particular aspect of the poem. Forrest Fenn has said, Forrest Fenn has said that there are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt, and so that conjures up in your mind, and we all, if you're new to the chase, or like if you've been around for a while, then you know that Forrest Fenn has provided us with details. Now, go off on more information that I'm saying that I said in the other video is, I'm saying, hey, I'm a poem purist. Okay, I really only just have the poem and the map that I just showed you. And of course I have online resources like Terry Scan, and I watch YouTube videos of other people talking, and but I don't have the book. And actually, I mentioned that in the other video, and I got hammered on some emails and some comments from some people who were they're basically saying if you don't have the book, you're never going to be able to figure this thing out. But I don't know about that. I think that the book, from what the excerpts and the pages that I've seen and the videos I've seen of people trying to parse that book, it's just the thing is just filled with content and more content, and I almost think that that is a deterrent. I think that Forrest, and I get it. My understanding, I get what people are saying is that if you read the book, you learn more about the man. You might be able to figure out the whole thing. Who knows? Someday I may go there. I'm not saying I'm not ever ruling that out. I'm just saying that I have tried to just use the poem and the map. Got it? I mean, with that being said, I've also used information outside of just the poem and the map. So, I've used anecdotal information or interview information from that I've gotten from on the internet. One of the things that Forrest Fenn has said again and again, or it's been documented, is that he said, it's between 5,000 feet altitude and 10,200 feet altitude, which is, to this very day, I still find that very interesting, the 10,200 foot comment. I did some research recently, or was doing some more on maps, and the thing I thought was interesting, and I might just do that on the next one, is about topo maps. And there's a bunch of things that I just recently learned about topo maps, just kind of details that I kind of knew, but I didn't know the exact kind of proper map reading techniques. And for the longest time, I thought that the demarcation between topo map elevations was 200 feet, but it's not. So for a long time, I thought that was kind of a clue that Forrest Fenn was saying 200 feet is this demarcation between one topo map line and another. I think there is some significance to it, and I'll have to go pull up that information and make a video about it. What was my point? And so I found the pause button, which is great because it gives me a chance. Sometimes I lose my train of thought and I have to stop the video, and it's always good to stop for a minute. I'm always blown away by other YouTubers who can just barrel through stuff. But I also, when you listen to some of that content, you'll see that it definitely it's like kind of a wobbly road. It goes all over the place. Another one too that I don't know. I don't want to comment on. I keep wanting to comment on other YouTubers and their content and stuff, but and then I listen to my video back and I just don't like going there. But I notice one thing that does happen on several of these channels where there's two people in particular is that, and sometimes they'll interview somebody, they'll have a third person, and it always makes me kind of crazy is that they'll run like this 2 hour thing, a YouTube streaming video, and they'll bring on somebody, and the person, after 20 minutes or a half hour of bantering around, they'll finally get to talking actually about the thrill of the chase, and the person being interviewed or on the show, or who's the other person being brought in, will start talking about something really interesting. I mean, it's really like deep. You're on the edge of your seat. You're like, wow, that's interesting. It's like, we're getting into the minutia of this, and the conversation goes back and forth, and it starts getting ticky tacky, and they're kind of like digging into it, and then this person will jump in and say, "Oh," and then they'll go off, and then they never return to the subject again, and it's like kind of, it just that irritates me, um, and and then I do it, but that he's saying begin it where warm waters halt. He's saying there are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt, and some of the top things that people come up with, and the one that I keep hearing over and over again, and I'm on on the page with that too, is that a phrase that I heard recently from somebody is warm water features or thermal features. And it is true. If you start looking through Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, and you start looking in the Rockies, you start finding dozens of locations that are above 5,000 feet, below 10,200 feet, that have some kind of a spring or hot spring or something. And there are dozens of them, many of them. Um, so, I mean, is that it? Is he talking about thermal features? And I've heard the argument too, and I'm one of the people who made the argument. I think I took down my videos of that were, is um, that if you have a hot spring and the hot water is coming physically out of the ground and it comes down a little hill or however it comes down, and then it enters just say for the sake of argument, it enters a stream or a river. At that point, you have hot water, and I mean, debatable. I mean, hot, boiling hot. I know one in particular that I've been to where if you put your hand in there, you're gonna have to go to the emergency room. It's scalding. It's 200. Probably if you put your hand right at the source, it's probably over 200 degrees. It's not 300 or 400, but I think it's definitely in the 200 range. But by the time it comes out, literally out of that area there, and it goes down about 2 or 3 feet, or maybe 6 or 7, 10 feet, as it dribbles down. I mean, you can put your hand in it, and it's a hot shower hot. I mean, it won't burn your hand at that point, but it's still pretty darn hot. But by the time it gets down the to the river, it's probably still very hot, but it won't scald you. And then when it gets to the river, one could argue that it's warm water being halted by the river. All right, all right, well, I'll buy that. And so there probably are multiple places in the Rocky Mountains where that occurs. And maybe that's what Forrest Fenn is saying is you just need to go chase them all down one by one, and go to them and then sit there and say, okay, I'm beginning where Warm Waters Halt, and I'm going to take it, and I'm assuming it is a river in the canyon down, and it's going to be not. I'm like wink, wink, not far, but too far to walk, which means that we're going to have to either use a boat or a car or a bicycle, or something. We're going to have to go further down or further up, but we're told in the canyon down. So this is all vexing things, when it comes to the thrill of the chase. And then, the other point I wanted to make was that I personally have a pet peeve for is the Continental Divide, because there are many places in the Rocky Mountains across Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico where the Continental Divide is, and I'd have to look on the map whether it continuously runs the entire. I think it does, all the way from the Canadian border all the way down into Mexico in those four states. That ribbon of the Continental Divide comes down through those mountains, and so Forrest Fenn saying there are many places, more than one, more than two, many, and so as I look at this video feed on this software where it's showing the frames per second, I think I see where I have my problem is I'm getting a slow frame rate. So anyhow, the thing that gets me is that, and I'm sure other searchers, is that Forrest Fenn says, A, you need to begin it where Warm Waters Halt. If you do not B, have that first clue, you don't have anything. And C, he's saying that there are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt. Another one that I tend to like put into that, on top of that, as I run out of time here, is that, yeah, and I mean, a lot of people will say, hey, you're just looking at the first part of the sentence. It's really a three, and take it in the candy down, comma, not far, comma, but too far to walk. I know I'm not an English major or anything, but I know sometimes that people, when they write, will put a comma in, and you can read it. You could say, begin it where warm water halt, and where begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. And you could actually take out the not far and just say, but too far to walk, which is interesting, right? Not far. I think not far messes people up. I mean, you could just put it as, and take it in the canyon down, but too far to walk. And I'm almost wondering more and more if begin it where warm waters halt is referring to something very specific, and then take it in the canyon down literally means south. Canyon down, south. You're going south down the canyon, and you're it's too far to walk, which means you got to get in the car and drive or take a boat. And I think you gotta. I think you can drive it, because he pulled up in a parking lot when he hit it. So I have this idea about a boat, but I think that's this, and that's what I guess what one of my main point I wanted to get to, and it takes me 13 minutes to get to the point, is that I wonder if that this poem literally just translates to begin it where warm waters halt. It could literally mean, as I've heard in another discussion, he's literally saying find a thermal stream that flows into a river, where when that warm water hits that stream, it's not warm anymore. It stops being warm, and then you're literally taking a river, following a river or stream southward down a actual canyon, and you're gonna have to go to the one spot, and then you have to get in your car, and you're gonna have to drive to the next location. And that's where the next clue is. And I think when he's saying put in below the home of Brown, I think he is literally saying that you need to stop at this place, this parking lot. That's where you park, and then you have to do the next part. All right. Well, like my videos. Hopefully this will fit and the YouTube upload, and like my videos, subscribe to my channel, and I'll try and put some more content up. Thank you.